Hello and welcome to Seismic Cinema once again. Dust off your bucket hats and overalls, put your feet up, grab some popcorn as well as your Tamagotchis, Furbies and Beanie Babies because dun, 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 we are reviewing our top 10 movies from the 90s as picked by Daniel, aka Johnny Utah, and joined with us today is also our co-host Colin, who is named Mew. So we're going to see what he is all about with his rankings. So yeah, obviously Spotify listeners, we all got weird, silly names as usual. So I'm Hannibal from a franchise you might know. So yeah, that is the intro. I'm actually hosting for the second episode in a row. So I don't know how good it was last time. So we're trying to keep it on a roll. So yeah, we are guesting with Daniel again. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Thanks for asking me to come on again.
I know. I thought your name was going to be the Scarlet Pimpernel.
No, the Phantom.
The Phantom. Daniel's meant to be in, was it last two he's meant to have been on? And he said other engagements more important than the cast.
Things have happened.
Family birthdays and all sorts.
Yes. Oh no, I'm sorry.
This was his
But
last
I did make
show.
a promise I was going to be on tonight, and I honored that. So.
Well, I've got a couple of points about your intro. I like the 90s flavour, but also, could you made it any obvious you're reading it off a bit of paper?
Oh, I'm sorry. I literally just added that in like 2 seconds before we started.
And a second point, did you say we're reviewing our? Did you say we're reviewing our top films?
Yes, probably. I don't know. We probably did.
I'll leave it at that. I need to stop.
So it's going to be
I need to stop being a backseat driver here.
I know. Look, I'm the host, so if we want to review 30 movies in one night, we're going to do it.
Okay.
So, yeah, I would say let's go on with the show, but we're not going to get on the show because I need to say as well. At the end up, I've got 5 quick fire questions for you at the end for both of you. A couple of curveballs, a couple of easy ones. See how we get on. Okay. So, have your thinking caps on. It's probably going to be the highlight of the show because my ranking's pretty bad. So how do you want to do this? Who's wanting to go first? Who's wanting to go last?
I'll go in the middle.
You go in the middle? Well, Daniel, Johnny Utah, I think it's up to you to get the ball rolling.
I'll go first then. Yeah, why not? So are we starting from 10 or starting from number 1? Did you say?
Starting from 10 and working our way down. So what is your number 10, Daniel?
My number 10 is The Rock.
Paul likes that film.
From 1996.
I love
Nicolas
that film.
Cage and Sean Connery. So
Fantastic.
That was directed by Michael Bay. Also directed Bad Boys, Transformers, and 13 Hours. Not my favorite director, but I think in the 90s he was better.
Yeah, he kind of held back his explosions a wee bit.
It wasn't over the top and not too many quick shots as well, which ruins some movies.
Yeah, definitely.
So, but yeah, a really, really good action movie.
I'm going to do myself a favor in this podcast and not mention when I've not seen something, so I can retain a bit of dignity. So, also, I'm also going to Google all my choices now, so I can tell you the year and the director, so I feel nice and important.
I would do that too, but I don't think this laptop could handle it.
I'm just doing it on my phone.
Oh well, I can't host and do that, so I'll just do the basics.
If you want to leave that out, I can just tell the movies.
No, it's fine. I'm going to do it. Paul can just be the opener.
Yeah, I'm just going to make mine up. Like, mine was directed in 1992 with Paul Vanderhoeven. So great choice. I love The Rock as well. I think I've mentioned that in the soundtrack episode.
I think you mentioned that in the villains ranking as well.
General
Hummel. Yeah.
Daniel's a super fan.
Yes.
And he
It's one thing I
pays.
remember is movies.
Yes, and he pays our OnlyFans. Colin, what is your number 10?
Right, so I didn't originally have this in. I'll tell you what I originally had in. I remember it being really classic. This is what I originally had in, but I can't really remember the film all that well, apart from some cool sunglasses and some gooey aliens. Originally, I had in Men in Black, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna designate that to my honorable mentions because I can't really remember the entire film that well, apart from it's probably not a good time to promote Will Smith, so I'll just move on. At number 10 is a movie that came out in 1996. It's more of a kind of family film because I'm not the action guy like Paul. Directed by Danny DeVito. I went for Matilda.
It was directed by Danny DeVito.
Yeah, it was directed by Danny DeVito.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Danny DeVito.
What did I say?
No, I thought you said Danny DeVito like crisps.
No, I said Danny DeVito. So Matilda, it's just an all-time classic, isn't it? Shout out to my sister because I did this the last time. Her favorite movie. Great soundtrack. Just I can remember it just really well. Just Miss Trunchbull's a great villain. The bit with the chocolate cake. The reveal of her powers and when she gets adopted by Miss Honey at the end, it's quite wholesome. So I think Matilda's a real staple of the 90s.
Yeah, I've not seen that in ages. So. All I can remember is the chocolate cake thing. That's the only. I just remember being torture.
It is I think I say the word iconic in a lot of podcasts, but I think it is a really iconic kind of family film.
Sorry, I apologize. Like this is an iconic 90s movie.
Yes.
Yeah. And my number 10 is, I think it's an iconic 90s movie. I went for Predator 2.
That almost made my list.
Oh. See, this is kind of. I don't know if I said it in the intro. This is our favourite 90s. It's not the ultimate. These are the 90s movies. It's our favourite. So
yeah,
I just remember. I was probably pretty young at the time, so I don't know why I was watching it. But
you're young for all these films.
Well, not all of them. Like some of them, I didn't see till.
I know it was just a wee 90s joke.
Yes, 10 and under. So I just remember watching like these kind of films with my dad, and like remember watching Predator 2, and this is a kind of ultimate kind of mix of sci-fi and action. Danny Glover's in it, and he is just a total badass throughout. There's just so many good gunfights. There's good characters in it as well. Bill Paxton.
Yeah,
Bill Paxton. He just gets a wee kind of bit part to play in it, but he plays it really well. And the creature design, there's a big chase throughout the city. It's so much more different from the first one because the first one's set in the jungle, and it just had me hooked. Don't know who directed it. Don't know what year it was, but I'm pretty sure it was the 90s. So I went for Predator 2 as my number 10.
Hold on, I'll tell you. 1990, so you're right on the bit. Stephen Hopkins.
Yeah.
Oh, good old Hoppy.
I'm sure he directed the first one as well, from what I can remember.
Oof. That's taking it back. I can't remember either. You're probably right because it did have the quite good consistency of the creature in that as well. So I'd imagine so. Oh, and
maybe
Gary Busey's in it as well, and he's crazy and it's brilliant as well.
So he's a great 90s actor, definitely.
Yeah.
He'd probably be in most 90s movies.
He's probably in half these movies that I've got actually. Yeah, and just like so many good scenes in it as well, like the meat factory, all the kind of rooftop shootouts, and let's say in the chase throughout the city. So yeah. Anyway, I've talked about too much about my number 10, so I'll stoom about it. So Daniel, what is your number 9?
Number 9, Saving Private Ryan, 1998, directed by Steven Spielberg. Iconic war movie. I would assume almost everyone has seen it at some point.
It's on my list.
Oh my god!
You've not seen it?
You mentioned it in your movies one, Paul, didn't you? Your favourite movies?
I think I did, yeah.
But we didn't do it that long ago. I just literally can't find time to watch films half the time, if I'm being honest.
Stop educating school kids and just watch movies.
Can't help it. I need to improve the future generations.
You can have the odd afternoon. You can actually play them a movie and watch it yourself.
It's got to be.
As long as it's appropriate.
It's got to be a 12, yeah.
Starting, was it an AV club that they have in America?
Yeah.
I'll get there. I'll always get there. So.
Anyway, but yeah, this is good because it's got such a good cast, doesn't it, Daniel?
Yeah, the cast. I mean, it's a huge ensemble cast. I think all the big actors from the 90s, and I think it's set a tone for the future of kind of war movies and how it's shot and maybe how the soldiers' stories are told. And I think, did you ever watch TV show Band of Brothers?
I watched more of the Pacific one. I didn't watch the older one.
So I think Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg produced that as well, and it just had that feel to it, and it, and basically I think all their the favorite World War II games, like Call of Duty, kind of took from that. And I think it really stuck out for me that movie.
Amazing. Did he not like pioneer the shot where like they follows the soldiers like whilst they're running through the battlefield kind of thing?
Yeah, so you feel it from the soldier's perspective. Yeah.
You've got so much to look forward to calling this one.
Yes, I'll get there. Gotta keep my priorities in check. I've got some like really good films in here, but I've went for just bits of nostalgia here and there as well, so mine's a bit of a mixed bag.
I think that's why it makes your top 10 if it's nostalgia.
Yeah.
That's all mine is. It's just that big nostalgia
Same.
fest. So, Colin, what is your number 9?
I'm gonna introduce mine musically instead.
Interesting.
Number 9, Phantom Menace.
Who directed that?
George Lucas. 1999. I actually knew that without looking that one up. So a much maligned film in a lot of ways, but I've just got so much nostalgia for it. And I remember we went, I think it was your birthday. I had seen it once, and then I went with your family on your birthday to see it. And it was like a double-ended Darth Maul lightsaber that had like sweets inside it, but it just had wee short ends. But it's actually, I know they criticize the whole kind of trade routes and stuff, but the good thing about the prequels is they actually have a pretty decent story. It was more the execution that was the problem. Like, it's quite an interesting story about how Palpatine kind of manipulated the war to become the Emperor. Spoilers. And I think like I'm a big pod racing fan, and Duel of the Fates and the freeway battle at the end, I think it is maybe a bit too harshly critiqued sometimes, Phantom Menace. But it just holds a lot of childhood nostalgia for me with the video games as well.
See, it might have been on mine, but Jar Jar Binks just totally tanked it.
Do you know the coolest thing I had? You got this thing with the action figures for Phantom Menace. It was like a voice translator. You might remember it, Paul. You put the character's feet on top of this wee like
comlink thing,
and then you put it on top of the comlink, and it played like wee quotes from them. Like, it was pretty before its time.
I remember that. I used to have a wee watch that had the kind of similar, not a similar thing, but I used to have just like wee alarms go off, and it'd be like wee quotes and stuff. And one of them was Jar Jar Binks, and that's probably why I hate him so much.
Do you know one of my favorite pieces of merchandise? It was a Jar Jar Binks. It was his head with a droopy tongue, and you could like throw it at the wall, and it would stick to things.
Oh, I remember having that. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to doing our Star Wars ranking that we're going to do in a few weeks' time.
Oh, that sounds good.
It'll be interesting.
I know, I'm quite looking forward to that one.
A long podcast because there's quite a few movies now.
We'll make that like a special, and we just won't care about the length since it's Star Wars week. You're welcome to join, Daniel, if you're free.
Yes, I'll make time.
Good stuff. That's maybe a bit of a late one, right enough, because we we're having a special guest on from America.
Star Wars guy.
Star Wars guy. Thoughts about Star Wars? Right.
So that's
He's going to be coming on.
That's my number 9.
Right. My number 9 is The Rock.
Ah, there you go.
Right. A bit of a crossover there. So, yeah, pretty much just the same as Daniel. I think that's probably kind of piqued my fascination in like military kind of movies. Like I'd seen old like kind of World War II movies, but this was a kind of more modern one, which I kind of got into. And yeah, like I was saying, the cast is really good. It's got Sean Connery, Nicolas Cage. The soundtrack's brilliant. General Hummel, I've already mentioned him before in another podcast about how such a good kind of villain he is, but he turns out like pretty good.
What was your favourite scene in that movie?
The shower scene.
Yes.
Out of context, that seems weird.
Right. Shower room. Sean Connery drops the soap, and
Paul, I'll cut you off.
It's just the dialogue between the Navy SEAL commander and General Hummel. It was the exchange between them. It was so tense, and you can feel the emotion between them and how tense the room felt, and that just stuck out for me as well.
Nice.
Really
no,
emotional scene.
it's such a great scene. You need to see that, Colin, as well.
Stop badgering me.
It was so good that they even made a level in Call of Duty.
That's right. Yeah.
I've got a problem. I've just remembered a couple of films I want to put in.
God, I thought I was underprepared.
No, I just remembered them.
See, because I'm hosting, those picks are not admissible.
I'm going to change it up slightly.
Okay, Colin.
This makes me see. It makes. I've not mentioned them yet, so it's okay to change them. You don't actually know what I've got, so.
Right. So, Daniel, we're on to number 8.
Number 8. Okay, so number 8 for me is Point Break, 1991 movie, with Keanu Reeves and Patrick Swayze, and it was directed by Catherine Bigelow. So she also done movies like Hurt Locker, Zero Dark 30, and Detroit. I don't know if you've seen that.
I've not seen that. I didn't realise she did that as well, actually. I thought she just came on the scene, kind of really the Hurt Locker.
No, she's been directing things. I think she done directed a couple of shorts in the 80s as well.
All right, okay.
Short movies. So she's been on the scene for a wee while. But that was an amazing movie. For people who haven't seen it, it's kind of like this kind of special agent FBI guy tries to infiltrate this kind of group of bank robbers and they also surf. So trying to befriend them and trying to, basically,
Infiltrate them.
yeah, and take them to jail. Gary Busey's in that as well, funnily enough.
Oh, so yes, yeah.
He was Johnny Utah. And Keanu Reeves' character's name is Johnny Utah as well.
Oh, that's you.
Yep.
I've actually got a really funny story where I've not seen this one. It's worth sharing. So,
okay.
Never in Hot Fuzz when he goes, "Do you want to watch Point Break or Bad Boys 2?" He goes, "Why not both?" So I've got Point Break and Bad Boys 2 on DVD, and for no reason at all, not watched them. And I've left. I always leave a few DVDs out at my girlfriend's house, and they're at the bottom of the pile. And Alien's son's a fan of Hot Fuzz 2, and we always just go, "Do you want to watch Point Break or Bad Boys 2?" And then he says, "Why not both?" And then we just never watch it. It's just like a long running joke. But I should probably watch it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you seen the remake?
It's a must watch. Terrible. I think I gave it 5 minutes and then switched it off.
Is there not a scene in Point Break where he fires his gun up in there and goes, "Ah"?
Yeah.
Just like Hot Fuzz.
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil why he does that, but
I've seen clips of it in Hot Fuzz, obviously.
Yeah.
Good solid
recommend that.
number 8. So we're on to Mew, number 8.
I'm basically like a child in the 90s here. I promise it gets a bit more serious as it goes down.
To be fair, though, you were a child in the 90s.
Yeah, that's true. My number 8 is directed by Joe Pytka. No idea who that is. It was released in 1996. And I didn't go see the remake the sequel this year, and it was apparently awful. I went for just an absolute nostalgia fest, which features some Looney Tunes and Michael Jordan, aka Space Jam. One of my favorite flicks of the 90s.
Aye, it was amazing, wasn't it?
Just the premise of just the Looney Tunes playing basketball and Michael Jordan, it just worked. I don't know why it worked, but it just worked.
Yeah.
And
I remember being in primary school collecting those, remember those wee pog things that you used to stick together and stuff, and there was like the wee kind of mad things. Wee trend back in the day.
And I know I wouldn't mention the name of the music artist because he's kind of disgraced now, but I Believe I Can Fly is an absolute tune.
Not anymore.
Not anymore, but see that opening scene of Space Jam when he's a wee kid and he's like doing slam dunks in his garden. That song's on. Oh,
Yeah.
What an anthem!
That's a great shout, by the way.
I think you can watch it no matter how many times you've seen it. You know, you can still sit there and enjoy it.
I'm glad that got a good reaction. I was nervous of putting that one in because it was quite childish.
Hey,
I still watch it. I mean, I've got 2 kids, and I'm happy to sit there and watch it myself.
I know.
Yeah, well,
I've not actually watched the new one. Have you watched the new one?
I've heard it's awful.
It's god awful.
Yeah, did LeBron James not like pick up a Razzie for it and all that? And the actual movie itself.
So, I mean, they barely even play basketball. I mean, you can't even call it basketball in this. It's terrible.
I'm glad I missed it.
So
I mean,
far,
they had great actors in it. Like, they had Don Cheadle, and they made him look like an idiot. And just very unhappy with it.
Is it as bad as Anchorman 2?
Worse.
I hate Anchorman 2 with passion. I only watched it once and it was awful.
Right, come on now. There's not enough sequel bashing going on usually, so
okay, you go.
Right, so my number 8, I went for Rush Hour.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Yeah, I just remember. I can't remember after school, just it was on TV or something, and yeah, it was just great. I love Jackie Chan movies. Like all those old stuff in that. Especially like when you watch the end and you see all the outtakes of him doing all the stunts and he always messes it up and stuff. It's always so funny. But
I love those scenes at the end of the movie.
Yeah, they were great, weren't they?
Yeah. One movie that sticks out in particular is Jackie Chan's Who Am I? It's really good. Cheesy, but I don't know if you've seen it.
Oh, is that the one where I have seen it, but there's like so many ones in that kind of wee spell that he done. I can't remember which one it is, but I know which one. Is it when he was like in Australia or something at one point?
Yeah, I think so. He gets amnesia. I mean, the title probably gives it away, but I really liked that. He's wearing this yellow kind of overalls. Overalls. Yeah.
I remember that one, and there's one where he's like working with like the Soviets or something like that kind of thing. Like in they're skiing and stuff. I remember that one. It's all coming back to me now. My childhood. But anyway, I went for Rush Hour because I thought Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker were just amazing together.
Yeah.
It's such a funny movie, but the stunts are unreal as well. It's just a great wee movie, and the soundtrack's really good too. But I went for 8, the Rush Hour, because it's awesome.
I don't remember it very well, but I've definitely seen it at some point, probably with you.
Yeah, probably.
There's rumours kicking about they're filming a 4th one.
Surely not.
Yeah.
Well, he's just Jackie Chan now.
I mean, he's in his 60s.
Seems like he'd be older than that, doesn't it?
I know.
He seems to be about forever.
Can I tell you something?
He might also be closer to 70.
I just realised that a film that I had in my list isn't from the 90s. I had it in my head it was, and it isn't. So I've taken it out. I thought Jaws was out in the 90s. I don't know why I had that in my head.
Jaws?
I thought Jaws was in the 90s.
Oh, was that not the
60s or
70s?
Yeah. It's the 70s, but I had it in my head it was the 90s. Anyway, I've taken it out. It's fine.
Bloody hell. Anyway, right, okay, so Sorry for our listeners and for Colin's unprofessional list he's got here.
I didn't have to tell. I'm just being honest. I didn't have to tell you that I changed things.
Sorry, it's fine. I don't mind it. So, Daniel, lucky number 7.
Lucky sevens.
So my number 7 is 7.
Ooh.
1985. Yeah, movie 7. Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman. Amazing movie. Really iconic. I think that set the tone for, thrillers. From there on in, directed by David Fincher. So he done The Game, Fight Club, and The Zodiac. I don't know if you've seen any of those movies.
I've seen The Game in Fight Club. I think I've seen The Zodiac, yeah.
The Zodiac is really good. See, David Fincher has a knack for making thrillers and making really dark and gritty movies. And
did he not direct Mindhunters as well on TV?
He did, yeah. I think he done a couple of episodes, 2 episodes maybe.
That was in Paul's top TV shows.
Stop spoiling my list.
The movie was fantastic. Even having, oh my god, the villain now is, it's terrible. I'm forgetting his name. The pressure's on. I mean, there was a wee bit controversy behind him as well. A couple of years back.
The only thing I can remember is the
that's terrible.
The corpse at the start, because it was like gluttony, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the main thing I can remember from it.
Mm-hmm. It was just a really good movie, and it really stuck out for me. Yeah,
I really like Brad Pitt in it.
Brad Pitt was good. It was one of the a few roles that kind of showed off how good he was at acting.
Definitely.
Without being typecast into movies, so.
And how he's flourished since.
I know.
So, Colin.
Yeah, that was my 7.
What is your lucky number 7, Colin?
Well, my list's been chopped and changed so many times. I actually added this one in quite late. It's actually a movie adaptation of a book that I read. I'm a big fan of the John Grisham novels, kind of crime, kind of law novels. It's actually called The Firm.
Great movie.
And it's Tom Cruise. So just a kind of spiel is basically he gets offered like this dream job when he graduates from law school, and it's got like great benefits. It sounds amazing, but then when he gets there, he basically realizes they're crooked, and he kind of stumbles upon the secrets and has to kind of decide whether to kind of report them or not because his life's in danger. So that's just a very brief summary, but it's based on a really good book, and I really enjoyed it. I love kind of crime, kind of law-based novels, and seeing it adapted into a pretty good movie. So Daniel's obviously a fan as well.
Yeah, I love Tom Cruise. That almost made my list as well, actually. I was toying with that one.
What, The Firm?
Yeah. Gene Hackman was in it, I'm sure, as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really liked it. Have you seen it, Paul?
I've seen bits and pieces. I've not seen the whole thing. Is that one with Ed Harris in it?
I think he may have been in it.
Anyway, I can't really remember. I've not seen the whole thing. I know that for sure. So that could be my last one.
The hard thing is because see when you search like great movies from the 90s, it obviously doesn't throw up all the different options. So it wasn't until somebody mentioned something one of you said kind of triggered it in my head.
Yeah,
Ed Harris is in it.
Yeah, isn't it? Well, that's probably the first and only thing I'm going to be right about tonight.
I'll actually tell you what I ruled out for that one. Jaws, obviously. But there's another one. Because I had it in my head, it was a movie. And then when I was looking up for this podcast, it said it was like a mini-series. But then on another site, it said it was a movie. So I'm a bit confused. What I originally wanted to put in was the original It. But somewhere it was saying it was a mini-series.
Yeah, I don't think it was a movie. I think it was a miniseries. That's all I've ever seen it.
I'll pretend it's a movie and I'll throw it in as an honourable mention because, as I mentioned in my villains review ranking, he was terrifying. The original It, Pennywise.
That's okay. I'll love it.
So that's an honourable mention.
You might leave the honourable mentions till the end, Colin. You just sprinkle them in the middle.
No, I'm just sprinkling in the ones that I've actually taken out of my original ranking. There's ones that are there as proper honourable mentions. I'm just showing you my thought process. It's behind the curtain.
That's okay. Don't worry. We're all friends here.
Me and Daniel are anyway.
Ouch.
Sorry, me and Daniel are going to do a wee breakaway podcast.
Aye.
It's going to be anyone but Colin.
No Colin's on.
So, moving on, because you keep distracting me with your nonsense, Colin. This is hard hosting, by the way, having to keep on track. I don't like it. I feel like such a nutcracker here.
Yeah.
So, I'm going for number 7. The first Mission Impossible movie.
Yeah.
I mean, probably because like this one had like loads of iconic scenes. It had a kind of nice wee twist and tail. I remember just the scene where he's going down at the vault in the CIA, and it's all the lasers and stuff, and he's just rappelling down.
Yeah.
And John Reno is like sweating away trying to hold his rope, as they say. And I remember as well, I think, was it PlayStation that was out? And they had a game for it, and I used to play that all the time with my brother as well. But yeah, I think Tom Cruise done a great job, and obviously it was a great movie that spawned so many sequels, and it's still going. It's like Mission Impossible, Ghost War, Machine 5 or something.
Oh, can I ask a question?
You can, sir.
If the mission was so impossible, why did they keep succeeding?
Because... Shut up.
That's the name of their team.
IMF.
Yep, Mission Impossible Force. There we go.
Yeah.
They can do all the impossible missions.
They need a rebrand then.
Is that not like the same? Is that not the same? Like IMF, like the International Monetary Fund.
Yeah,
but they're called the IMF as well. Yeah, I thought it was a bit weird, but yeah, like it's. Have you seen that, Colin?
I'm going to say yes.
God damn it!
I mean, it was a good movie because it wasn't really filled with action. You know, it was good. It was just a really kind of well-paced, well-written movie. Kind of more espionage than action movie, which was good.
And it had a lot of kind of cool wee gadgets and stuff.
Yeah.
I remember the face maker where they could just make somebody's face.
Yep.
Spoilers, Colin.
They couldn't do people's voices then yet either.
Oh, yeah.
In the latter movies.
And now the new ones, they've got a gadget for absolutely everything.
Yep.
Simon Pegg, the tech man. Anyway, that was my number 7, Mission Impossible. So we are on to number 6, Daniel.
Number 6. So, The Matrix, 1999. Directed by the Wachowski brothers, sisters. Now,
no. Brothers back then.
Yeah. So, amazing movie. That's why I had it kind of higher up on the list, but just a great, sci-fi action movie.
Yeah, so great, wasn't it?
Yeah, again, it broke so many rules on how to make a movie. Invented, bullet time and how to make, a camera, pan round an area, in one fluent motion.
Mm-hmm.
And just, the way it was written and acted, I think it was a phenomenal movie. The special effects, I think, still hold up to this day. And obviously they tried to recreate that with the fourth Matrix movie, and they failed miserably.
Paul,
Yeah, I've heard
is
that. Sorry, you were
is that one of your questions?
It was actually, I was going to say, if you'd seen the new one, because I've heard nothing but bad things about it.
Yeah, it's poor. That's me putting it politely.
It seems to be the way with remakes and sequels, particularly the last couple of years, isn't it?
Yeah, I think they should just leave these things alone.
Colin, have you
Come
seen
up
the
with
Matrix
original
movies?
ideas.
Right, so I've got another funny story with this one. So it's on Amazon, right? So I actually sat down one night to watch it, and then decided it was too long for how I felt that night and didn't watch it.
Super hilarious.
I struggle with time management when it comes to movies. I don't know how you just like fit it in.
I liked the first. I did like the first one. I just found as the series went on, like the plot got more and more confusing, and it just got really weird. I don't know about you, Daniel, but like I found that where they took Neo out and started trying to get all kind of like philosophical and all that kind of stuff, it just kind of missed the mark for me.
Yeah, well, the whole thing is it's all kind of religious based as well.
Yeah.
So it is like, the city of Zion, and then everybody's names. Neo, being an anagram for one. So Neo is the one, but Neo also meaning new. So he's the new one. So he's been cast as like the new Messiah kind of thing. So there's this whole kind of mythology about it. And I think it's kind of based on real, well, I wouldn't say real, but text from the Bible and religious parables and stuff.
There's a podcast we know that wouldn't like that.
We shan't mention their name.
I like my podcast.
But yeah, I thought it was really cleverly done.
Yeah.
But I think I know what you mean about it being more confusing as it goes on. I think they kind of made it that confusing for themselves. They tripped themselves up and they didn't know what they were talking about either.
So it wasn't just me, and that's good.
No, because they couldn't do anything with the fourth one. So I think they should have just ended it there.
Yeah, why did they decide to bring it back? It just seemed like so out of place.
Probably pressure from the studios to get more money.
Is it?
Yeah.
I've got no hope there if you two didn't understand it.
Well, I understood the first three. It was the fourth one I didn't understand why they made it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but it is really good. It's got loads of like that, especially this one. Like when they storm the lobby.
Yeah,
I love that bit. Just bullets flying everywhere and the set just disintegrating in front of your eyes.
Yeah. Because I don't think anyone had seen that before in the movie. So it was kind of new and fresh, and it got everybody talking.
And Lawrence Fishburne as well. He was awesome in it.
Oh, amazing. Amazing actor.
I think that's probably the first thing I actually properly seen him in. And
Was it not in Boys in the Hood?
Never seen that.
No, that was an iconic 90s movie as well.
I see. Too young. Is that an action movie? Boys in the Hood?
I would say it's more of a drama.
See,
it's also to do with South
sorry.
Central LA.
We're on number 6. It's 40 minutes in.
Look, I'm the host here. We're doing this all night if we have to. So, Colin, you're number 6.
My number 6 is actually my dad's favorite ever movie, and I watched it last year for the first time, and it's very inspirational. It's very moving. It's quite long, but worth kind of sticking it out for. Lots of memorable characters. I went for Shawshank Redemption.
Yes, very good.
You both said yes at the same time there. So is it Old Red? Is it Old Red? Is that his name? Is that the character's name?
Morgan Freeman's character, I think so.
Yeah. So very kind of famous film, kind of lots of famous quotes from it, and I did enjoy the story. Quite obviously slow paced, but definitely worth a watch.
Yeah, it's like an all-time classic, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
My
Funnily
dad
enough, though, it never made my list.
That's on my honorable mentions.
my dad had mentioned it for years, and that way I kind of just wanted to check it out because it was his favorite film, so it was a nice kind of bonding moment.
There's not a Simpsons episode that's kind of like dedicated to it as well.
Can't remember.
I thought there is. I thought it maybe.
Right. It's quite.
But I think it's been through popular culture that much. You know,
Yeah.
there's a mention of about it somewhere.
It's quite dark in places as well. Like there's a few kind of moments that are not as easy to watch, but
Yeah,
Mhm.
quite grim.
yeah.
And on that dark note, on my number 6, I went for one of the probably iconic horror movies well, not horror, I'd say. It's Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
Was that, sorry?
No, I haven't. But
No.
I saw it a lot when I was researching for this podcast, and I think I will check that one out.
Yeah, it's really good. Anthony Hopkins plays Hannibal, my character on this. He plays it so well. He's just so menacing and so intimidating. But Jodie Foster plays like a kind of rookie FBI agent as well, who's up to the task of like interrogating them and find that information to help them find this serial killer, Buffalo Bill. It's terrorizing America, and and I can't remember Buffalo Bill's name, but he's in like loads of things as well. And
I can't remember his name either, but I know what actually you mean.
Yeah, I just remember going, put the lotion in the basket.
That was pretty good.
But yeah, I went for Silence of the Lambs because it's a great movie. Anthony Hopkins is just phenomenal in it, and obviously he got a couple of sequels out of it as well. And he's got some great lines in it as well. So that is my number 6. So we've reached the halfway point. We're 42 minutes in, which is way over. So Daniel, you've got 10 seconds to describe number 5.
Number 5 is fitting. I need to be quick. Speed, 1994.
Did you plan all this out with 7 and 7 and speed and needing to be speedy?
No, it was totally coincidental. So yeah, I mean a classic 90s movie. Again, I would recommend it. Anyone who hasn't seen it to watch it. Keanu Reeves was probably, I think it was one of his better roles in acting. It didn't feel as cheesy, and he can be a bit robotic in some movies.
Yeah,
but he was a bit more natural in this, and Dennis Hopper as the villain. Fantastic, well paced. Pardon the pun. Really, fast and exciting. And I could watch it, again and again.
It's because of this movie I don't step on public transport. So, Colin, what was your number 5? Speeding along to you.
My number 5 would also be a good alternate name for this podcast.
Rubbish.
No, A Few Good Men.
Oh,
yeah.
So the first time I ever heard this film, Paul probably know, is Harvey and Mike in Suits quoted it all the time, and it was actually the amount of times they quoted it. I was like, I need to check this film out, and it's really good. It's about there's basically somebody. Why am I hearing my voice echoing? Is that you, Paul?
I hope not.
I'm kind of struggling to remember aspects of the plot now, but basically there's some kind of trial that goes on because someone gets murdered.
Yeah, was it not like friendly fire or something like that, or
I think it was
a soldier gets killed in the barracks? It was something like that. It's been a while since I've seen it.
Was it not Guantanamo Bay? It happened possibly, and then it's just this big trial within like the army, and just the law room scene at the end is just amazing, and the quote from Suits is the bit like You want me on that wall, you need me on that wall. There's just a really great scene where he's basically getting chucked out. And yeah, it's really worth a watch. But I can't remember. I don't think you've seen it, have you?
I don't think so. No, like I was saying, I always see like wee clips of movies like from that era and
Yeah.
on TV and stuff. I don't watch the
I've
whole
not seen
thing.
it in about maybe 20 years. It's been that long.
It's definitely worth a watch. I really like kind of legal thrillers. I'm a big fan of
Yeah,
them. It's not on this
that was a
list,
really good movie.
90s, but have any of you seen a film called Fracture?
Yeah,
I really enjoyed that, actually.
been a while, but yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah.
Who's in that?
That's a.
Is that thing yet? Avatar? No, is that something else?
Fracture.
Well, Fracture was 80s or 90s.
Oh God,
I'm sure it was 90s actually.
Anthony Hopkins and Ryan Gosling.
Oh, was it? Is that?
Yeah, because Ryan Gosling's like the young lawyer, and it's Anthony Hopkins like he kills his wife, and Ryan Gosling's got to like prove that he did it.
I'm thinking of a different movie then.
You picked out a different movie. Anyway, this came out in 2007. Anyway, that's my number 5.
All right.
Next one.
Enjoyable.
So, my number 5 can be probably described as how I speak on this podcast. Quite robotic. I went for Terminator 2.
Nice.
Have you seen Terminator 2, Colin?
Of course.
Stop
picking on me.
Sorry, I can't help
feeling targeted now.
So yeah, I love this movie. This is one of these ones where you could just, I could watch this like all the time. This was back in the day when Terminator wasn't so confusing with the plot. Like it was just simply time travel, assassins, and it didn't get too convoluted. But Arnie, plays a robot and he's great doing it. I loved Robert Patrick playing was it a T-1000 he was? Or was it
T-1000.
And like he was basically just like liquid metal and he could absorb bullets and he could change his hands into big knives and stuff like that. And he could like impersonate different people. And I used to think he was like the craziest kind of character. I absolutely loved him as being the bad guy.
Yeah, he was virtually unstoppable, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was they had great car. They had a great car chase at the end when he was like the helicopter. They had the big kind of 18-wheeler chase through the storm drains.
Through the aqueduct, yeah.
The aqueduct, sorry. And then it was like the shootout at what was it called? Cyberdyne back then, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Cyberdyne. So they had the big shootout there with the cops and stuff. And I just absolutely love this movie. The acting's really good in it as well.
Yeah, fantastic. Quickly, Paul, who directed it?
What's that, sorry?
Who directed it?
James Cameron.
Oh.
I know one.
You got that right.
You just fact check me there, Carl.
Yeah.
Dirty. Right, so we are over the halfway point now. We're on the home stretch, lads.
Here we go.
Number 4, Dan.
I picked Pulp Fiction, 1994. Quentin Tarantino. Terrific kind of crime comedy, I would almost put it in. Yeah. But I think it's a typical Tarantino movie. But the way that it's structured, how it jumps about from story to story, and the cast that he picked for the movie, having Bruce Willis, Tarantino was in it, Samuel Jackson, probably stole the whole movie. Tim Roth, Harvey Keitel, just an excellent, well put together movie. I think it was actually close to being my number 2 pick, but then a couple of things jumped ahead.
Not easy, is it?
Recommend it.
I like it. You going to give us a wee show of the wee dance you do?
No, that's for me and Jennifer. Sorry.
Yes. Right. On that note, we are going to number 4, Colin.
My number 4 is a heavily diluted franchise, which is getting another sequel this year. I've went for those animals that apparently lived years ago, and sometimes you forget and think that it's made up, like dragons. I went for Jurassic Park.
Nice.
Jurassic Park 1.
You're going to give us a wee bit of theme tune?
No. I could roar like a dinosaur if you want me to, but
Go.
no. Don't want to scare away our viewers.
Give the people what they want.
I'll see if there's a hashtag. If there's a trend, hashtag trend starting, I might do it.
Hashtag Colin Roar.
Just, I think it's a bit like, ironically, Jaws in the sense of, do you not think it's better when you've not seen the dinosaur yet? Do you know what I mean? When you're anticipating it happening?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you don't get many more iconic movies than Jurassic Park, and I'm looking forward to seeing the sequel where they combine the kind of old and new cast. That should be quite interesting if it's done well.
Yeah. I hope so.
Yeah. I'm a bit worried by it. I don't know. I just feel like when they start trying to reintroduce older ones into really new ones when they've missed the whole kind of middle, I feel like they're just trying to grasp onto something.
So they have a habit of killing off the old cast in these movies when they bring on old and new together.
Bring back Han Solo.
So I just hope they don't do that. I will boycott the whole franchise if that happens.
I've got an embarrassing Jurassic Park Dominion story. I private messaged the Dunoon Cinema asking, like, I basically got the year wrong. I saw an advert for it and it said 2022 and I just missed the year. And I private messaged the cinema asking them when Jurassic Park was coming out. They were like, in a year's time.
Did you pre-book tickets?
Yeah, I'm going next week. We should definitely review that when it comes out of the way.
Yeah.
Sounds good, man. Sounds good.
So that's my number 4, the original Jurassic Park.
My number 4 is Scream.
Ah! Sorry.
That was your dinosaur roar.
No, sorry. You scream there.
Yeah, I'd seen this like years ago, and I hadn't seen it for ages. And then I rewatched them again for when the new one came out just there. And yeah, and I play a game, Dead by Daylight, on the PlayStation, and Ghostface is one of the killers. So I love the Scream movies. I think I said this in the villains episode. Like, he's actually when it comes to the main characters, he's absolutely awful at trying to kill the main characters. But like everyone else, he just stalks them, the creepy phone calls. But in this movie, you've not seen it, Colin, so I'm not going to spoil it for you. But there's like
I own a Scream mask.
I know, and you've never seen the movies. What does
I
that mean?
thought, you know, like sometimes you probably have seen films, but it was probably in the 90s or in the 2000s.
Yeah,
I don't remember. So like, I probably have seen it at some point.
To be fair, have you seen Scary Movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just basically that. Just
I actually watched Scary Movie a couple of months ago.
Yeah. So
yeah, I watch things.
What year did Scary Movie come out actually? Oh no, it's in 2000.
No. I want to check. 2000.
Just missed it. Yeah, so my number 4 was Scream. What about you, Daniel? What are you going? We're going into the medal positions.
Automatic Champions League spots.
Number 3. Okay. For me is Heat. Have you heard of it?
I have heard of it. Is it who
Yeah.
directed that one again? Is it not
Michael Mann?
Michael Mann. I always get confused with Michael Bay and Michael Mann.
So it was 1995. You've got Val Kilmer. Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Wes Studi, I think, isn't it? This Native American actor, but it's more like a bank heist movie, like a typical cops and robbers, but really well made, really tense. You can probably see I've got a consistent theme going with my picks. But again, iconic 90s movie. I recommend that you see it. Robert De Niro is a bank thief, and he's got a crew. You've got Al Pacino kind of investigating all the bank robberies, and kind of through the movie, kind of slowly catching up to him. So I highly recommend that if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's not got like a really like iconic shootout scene as well.
Yeah, so I would say it's it's really at the third act.
Third act.
Yeah.
I remember if it was. I can't remember if somebody said it was the start. I thought it maybe at the start, but that's fine. It's the last one.
Yeah,
I need to watch it because I've seen the start and I've not followed it through to the end.
Yeah, it's really a raw movie. I would highly recommend it. You would love. I think it's one of Val Kilmer's best movies as well.
Even better than Batman Forever.
Yes. 100%.
What were you saying there, Colin?
Can't remember. It's getting late.
Oh. Right. So number 3, Colin. What's your number 3?
My number 3 was Daniel's number 4, or no, 5, 4. One of them. Pulp Fiction.
Number 4.
Yeah. I watched this. There's another one. I buy like a DVD, and it sat beside my TV for ages till I could find the right time slot to watch it. And I watched it it was a few months ago now, but I really did enjoy it. And we mentioned in previous podcasts, I think it was in my top 10 movies, wasn't it? And soundtrack.
Yeah, you've mentioned it quite a lot actually. I was quite surprised because it's one of these movies I don't really associate you with, so it's quite.
It's quite a new one. As similar to Daniel, I really like the cast. I like the non-linear structure. I like the fact the end of the film is also the beginning of the film in terms of it just doesn't follow that structure. Son of a Preacher Man, if I've mentioned, is like my favorite song right now. That song. See if you listen to that. How could you be in a bad mood if you've got that on?
I know.
We should probably put it on right now for the end of this. So yeah, Pulp Fiction number 3.
We'll have that as one of the promos.
Yes. Yes.
Right, my number 3 was one both of you have already mentioned it. Was Jurassic Park.
Nice.
So just I think the creature design, obviously, the T-Rex was absolutely terrifying for back in its day. The raptors, when they were chasing them through the kitchens and things like that. And just a really good solid movie all around. And I adore the cast. I don't want them to die off. The new one.
Yeah.
Jeff Goldblum,
Sam Neill.
Sam Neill, yeah.
Was it Laura Dern?
Nah, we don't like Laura Dern. Admiral Holdo's rubbish.
Can't hold that against her.
I'll hold that against her.
Oh, burn. Right, so we're into the silver medal positions. Daniel, number 2.
Number 2, A Time to Kill. A 1996 movie directed by Joel Schumacher. He also directed Batman Forever, Falling Down, and Phone Booth.
Oh, I did the Phone Booth as well.
He passed away 2020. So he did. But the movie is set kind of in the South. I think it's Alabama or something. But this man's daughter it's quite a deep movie, quite upsetting, but it's really worth a watch. Colin, I think you would like it. It's like a courtroom drama.
Oh, yeah.
So Matthew McConaughey's a lawyer in the Deep South.
I like him.
Yeah, it's one of his best roles, I think.
What was he in that I watched recently? Oh, he's in The Gentleman, isn't he?
The Gentleman, yep.
Yeah.
All right.
So it's basically like this kind of black man played by Samuel Jackson. his daughter gets raped off of 3 white men, and basically he takes revenge on them as they're getting arraigned, in the middle of the whole kind of town, and he's put onto trial for it. But it becomes almost like a race war in the town.
Right.
But it's I would say it's really emotional, really deep, but really really enjoyable to watch at the same time.
Maybe not one to watch a Sunday after a night out, but yeah, I'll definitely get it at some point.
But no, it's a great movie, and the cast as well. You've got Sandra Bullock as well, who's got great chemistry with Matthew McConaughey in it. Brenda Fricker, I think she's in it as well, and Kiefer Sutherland and Donald Sutherland as well.
That's the reason. I'd rather watch like a courtroom film than an action film. So there's kind of differences in it.
Yeah, I think it'd be right up your street. Yeah. I think you'd like it.
What we should do is we should generate like lists. See, once we've done these rankings, we should maybe like somehow like have it. Do you know what I mean? So we can like refer back to things people have said. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or we could just watch it and not be lazy.
I'm still to watch Knives Out after our Gentleman video.
I want that back. So I've made a list of things that people owe me, and you're on it.
my list of things that owe you are probably bigger than your list of movies to watch.
I've got them all back. I've chased them up over the years.
Right, so I've totally lost where we're at now. So you're number 2, Colin.
This is my number 2. So I went from my last few have been actually quite acclaimed films, kind of critically and quite kind of classy films, but my last 2 are a wee bit different vibe. Number 2, I mentioned in my soundtrack ranking. It's a comedy. Don't know much more to just American Pie.
Sing the song.
American Pie 1. The bed is on fire with passion and love. But it's hard. It's really hard to like rank in a film like American Pie with like Pulp Fiction. But American Pie, the first one, I know I love the fourth one as well, but the first one is just brilliant, just so funny, amazing soundtrack, iconic, hilarious, so ingrained in popular culture. I had to have American Pie in the list.
Aye, Jim's just the best, isn't he?
Yeah, it feels weird having it with all these other films we've just spoken about, but
God, I didn't realise that was a 90s movie. You know, I didn't realise it was so far back.
Yeah, the first one was in the 90s. Yeah, I hope it was. I know.
God, I feel old.
American Pie was 1999.
All right, tail end.
Yeah.
God, I feel old, man. I feel old.
That's my number 2.
It's my number 2 is one that Daniel's mentioned. It was Saving Private Ryan.
Nice.
So I'm an absolute sucker for a war movie. And this one was just so great. I loved the opening scene where they're storming the beaches. There's just so much going on. There's just like wee details and stuff, like you see like bullets going through people's like canteens and stuff like that. There's blood everywhere. It's just absolute chaos. And the actors, I think they must have did they do a boot camp or something before it?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, and you can just tell they're like so into it. And it's just so brilliant. And I think I said this in one of the earlier episodes. Like,
it felt really authentic. So it did.
Yeah, aye. The only bit I hate at the end was the wee translator guy. When he do something he should have. But I'll leave that to you, Colin, once you see it. But that was the only thing that absolutely. Every time I watch it, I'm just like, do something.
Yeah, it's so frustrating to watch.
Yeah. But yeah, Saving Private Ryan is my number 2 because it's just one of the ultimate war movies. And for back in the 90s as well, that's stunning.
Yeah.
So, we are at the business end of things. Our number 1 90s movie, favourite 90s movie. Daniel, now's the time to shine.
Right, so this is totally different from a different genre from all the other movies that I've picked. You might be shocked at this. I don't know. Jerry Maguire,
Wow.
1996. Cameron Crowe movie. He's not really directed much, but I think it's a really amazing movie. It's essentially, have you guys seen it?
I seen it years ago.
Yeah, so it's a Tom Cruise movie.
Well,
He's essentially like a sports agent for American football players, and basically he kind of has this. He's got everything going for him. He's got cracking clients, but then he has this kind of emotional crisis, and basically develops a conscience overnight, and starts writing this memo that basically damages his career, and he gets fired. And the rest of the movie is just him trying to pick up his relationships again with basically one other client. Doesn't always go his way, but just a really well made movie. Funny as well. It's kind of like I would say it's kind of romantic-ish comedy drama, but Tom Cruise was excellent in it, and he had Cuba. He was alongside Cuba Gooding Jr. Great actor. And yeah, I would highly recommend it if you've not seen it. I've watched it 100 times so far.
Nice. That was a bit of a definitely a bit of a curveball. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting some sort of 90s action.
When I was writing down the rankings, I threw myself off with it when I ranked at number one. I was jotting down all the numbers and I was like, number one. But you know what? I look back on it and I stand by it.
Oh, that's what I would like to see, a wee bit of variety.
Yeah, that's it.
So, Colin, here we go.
I've
got a funny feeling I know what yours is going to be, but I'll leave it to myself.
I'm going to keep the variety going. So, as I said, it's our favourite films, and this is one for me. It kind of changed our genre, and it's one of my kind of favourite film kind of series of all time. And just being a 90s kid, getting something from this movie for Christmas was one of the best Christmas presents ever. I'm going to reach for the sky with this one and go for the first Toy Story.
And yeah.
Yeah.
I actually wrote it. I don't know if you can
like it.
See that. That was where I started for you.
You can't have favourite movies. I'll go out there and say in the top, for me, my favourite, but definitely in the top 2 or 3 animated films of the 90s.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I was close to putting this on my list as well because like I remember it and like I remember you loving it and like we used to have the games as well. Did you know?
I had a PlayStation 1 game. It was the first PS1 game I ever got was Star Wars Phantom Menace, as seen in our Star Wars games ranking, and my second ever game I got was Toy Story 2. And you could go into like Andy's basement and like avoid all this like radioactive waste, and it was great. You could go to Al's Toy Bar, and it was great fun.
Yeah,
I was looking for the first one though. The first one's better.
Yeah, I remember like being creeped out in was it Sid's bedroom and all the toys that are all mashed together and things. And it was all like things missing eyes and things like that. Oh,
just the soundtrack for Toy Story as well. The voice acting, the animation for its time, it still stands up today, and it just launched. Like I think 2's grown on me over the years. 3 I've mentioned is one of my favorite films. 4 was actually surprisingly really good, like surprisingly good, considering that I didn't think it should have been made. So,
right, bonus quick fire question: Buzz or Woody?
Buzz.
Woody.
Like it. Controversial, but I like it. I'd probably go Woody.
Buzz became a bit too much comic relief in later films, I think. Woody's the heart of the franchise.
Yeah.
Don't at me.
Okay. I mean, Buzz didn't really do much on the 4th one.
Yeah.
I've not seen the 4th one.
Kind of sidelined.
Right.
Worth a watch.
So nice number one pick. Good nostalgia pick, and well worth it. So my number one, I've went for. It's a bit of a guilty pleasure of mine. I went for GoldenEye.
Oh,
Nice.
yeah.
Maybe not the film, but for the Nintendo 64, one of my favourite. I didn't own a Nintendo 64, but Scott McCloud did, and we used to play that game all the time.
Oh, it's so
I
good,
love
isn't
that.
it? That is. I remember playing multiplayer against my brother in it all the time, and I was
The
so
gold-
bad.
The Golden Bazooka.
You can have the. Is it? You get the golden. Can you not get the golden gun as well? It only had like one bullet.
Yeah.
What we
One
used to
shot.
always do was go into the bathrooms on a certain level and pile it up with bombs on the door, then blow it up with a watch.
Yep.
Oh yeah. It's such a. I mean, this is the movies, not the game, Colin.
I know, but I got excited when you mentioned it because I like the game.
Yeah, to be honest, like I remember watching that. I thought Pierce Brosnan was such a good James Bond. I think he was pretty. I think he was good, but some of the movies he were in, like it got a bit outlandish with the gadgets and things. But in this one, you had like him, you had Sean Bean. Is it Alan Cummins?
Yeah.
Had the Scottish guy playing a Russian scientist, Boris.
He's James Bond to me. See, when I see someone says James Bond, I think Pierce Brosnan.
Sean Connery.
No, that's just who comes to my mind because he's the first
Yeah.
one I remember in my life.
No, I just remember this. I remember the tank chases through St. Petersburg. I remember having the wee kind of laser watch to get off the train. Yeah, it was just a great movie, and it is, like I was saying, a guilty pleasure. I mean, I just like watching it, and it brings back memories of the Nintendo 64. I think I actually bought a Nintendo 64 just as they were getting like decommissioned because I wanted to get GoldenEye again.
Well, you know that was the game that kicked off the whole shooter genre. You know,
Yeah,
like
was
COD
it?
and Battlefield. Yeah, that was the one that pioneered that. So, got to thank him for that.
So it's quite a nice wee mix of number ones. We've got GoldenEye, Toy Story, Jerry Maguire. So it's cool having seen all the different perspectives of our favourite 90s movies. But yeah, that's us wrapped up our rankings. So it'll be interesting to see if any of our listeners or viewers, if they have any different or any objections to our list. It'd be interesting to see. But now, since we've done that, we are moving on to our brand new segment that Colin introduced last week in the video previously. And that is just 5 quick fire questions just to see. It's more about opinion rather than like kind of facts. So we have number one for you guys. Between your favourite TV show and movie, if you had to give up one, just delete it forever, what would it be? Would you save your favourite TV movie or save your favourite TV show?
TV movie.
I meant save your favourite movie or save your favourite TV show.
Daniel, do you want to go first?
That's a hard one. I would probably save my favourite TV show.
Same.
Which is?
At the moment, I would say Band of Brothers. I'm watching that just now.
Nice. I've watched a few episodes of that. I've not seen the whole thing, but I watched most of the Pacific, so I need to get back into that because I really did like it.
Band of Brothers is so much better than the Pacific. The cast is so much better. They gel so much more. I would say it's more like Saving Private Ryan, and I think you would like it for that.
Yeah, and it's got so many good actors as well, doesn't it? Like it's like everybody who came out of it is brilliant.
Yeah.
I would choose TV show as well because Suits, just because based on the last podcast, but because you can spend so much more time in a TV show with like 9 seasons than you do in one film. So yeah, I'd pick TV show.
Yeah.
What was the movies you'd been?
Well, Hot Fuzz was top of my movie rankings, so I would choose 9 seasons of Suits over Hot Fuzz, I would say.
Okay. What would you been, Daniel, as your favourite movie? Delete it, never to be seen again.
Well, I'm not going to say Jerry Maguire is my top pick. I would say one I could live without because I've seen it so many times. Pulp Fiction.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Good answers, boys. Good start. That was just a warm-up question. So, number 2. If you could bring back a character that's been killed off in a TV series or a movie, who would it be?
Ned Stark.
Good old Ned.
Maud Flanders.
Maud Flanders.
Ned was just so sad.
It's not what I was expecting, but I like it.
I'm just casting a bit for somebody who died in the show.
Oh, Neddy. So, number 3, which is probably, I think I know what the answer will be, but I'm just interested. DC or Marvel?
Marvel.
Oh, DC.
Marvel.
Interesting. Oh,
DC and me just don't click. I don't know.
Are you talking about movies or DC as a whole?
we'll go movies because I've not seen a lot of the DC series.
Right. I would say I would still stick with DC.
DCEU is a real mouthful.
Yeah.
That's why Colin doesn't like it.
Yeah, exactly. I just like the humor. I just like the humor in the Marvel films. I find the DC ones a bit bland sometimes, but serious.
Well, fair enough.
Like it. Right. So on to number 4. If you were to get like a job in the film industry, like at any level, what would you like to do in it? So like you could either be like a director, an actor, producer, anything at all. What would you do in the film industry? Dream job.
Screenwriter.
Producer.
Producer. Very nice. Nobody's taking the top dog job. Nobody.
Writing sounds stressful, but I like writing things, so yeah, I go screenwriter.
Like it.
I would go producer because not all the flack goes on to you. Flub it off someone else, but you still get some input. You know, get your bit in.
Nice. So last one, just a wee stupid fun one. Would you rather be chased by a T-Rex or by a Rathtar?
A what?
T-Rex. I feel the T-Rex would be slower with the...
A Rathtar from Force Awakens.
All right. What about
Um,
T-Rex? Because the Raptor would just like roll you down.
But then a T-Rex would just run you down.
I feel like I could outrun a T-Rex.
To be fair, Bryce Dallas Howard done it in Jurassic World.
yeah,
And Niels.
I would say a T-Rex. You just stand still and won't see you.
Some good questions, Paul. Well done.
Thank you. I literally thought of it 2 minutes before we came on.
I'm still eating an Easter egg at midnight.
Somebody's going to have a sugar rush and not get to sleep.
I'll be fine.
Right, so because I was hosting, Colin, do you want to do the plugs?
No, on you.
Oh, God's sake.
I'm back. I'll be back next week.
Right, well, I didn't write down the plugs, so...
Yeah, I'll do it. Do you want me to do it?
What?
Do you want me to do it?
Aye. Yeah, you need to do something this episode.
This ultra-long podcast special, you can find our faces on YouTube. You'll find our voices on the Spotifys, the Good Pods, Apple's version of the pods, Google's version of the pods, that Anchor that keeps weighing us down, Amazon Music, because you like our tunes, and Audible, so you can listen to us on the move. And in terms of social media, you'll find us on VCB, the Instagram, and the tweets.
Is actually try to be all 90s and hip.
Yep. And subscribe if you haven't already, because 70% of you like us but don't like us that much. You just want to be friends. And in terms of what's coming up next, our next review is Good Will Hunting, which I'm going to watch for the first time. Paul's going to rewatch it so he remembers it. And we're hoping to do our ranking of our favourite movie directors. Ryan Johnson, top.
Controversial.
Ricky Gervais, second. It's even a director. Probably not. Right. So that was it, yeah?
Well, thank you for that, Colin, for doing the plugs. I think that's us, isn't it? I've not missed anything, have I, Colin?
We just got to an hour 20. It'd be good to finish in an hour 20, but sorry. The Power of Escapism is really good.
Power of Escapism. And yeah, hopefully by this time we've, fingers crossed, won the logo challenge and we're in the next round of the indie podcast challenge done by That Damn Podcast. And we're actually currently when this episode airs, we'll be hopefully won the logo challenge, which was designed by Daniel. So thank you, Daniel, for everything you do for the channel.
No,
Yes,
no problem.
Daniel, thanks for coming on.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you. I enjoyed it. It was good.
And
if you haven't watched our Secrets of Dumbledore podcast yet, you should watch it.
Because it's just pure magic.
Do you believe in magic?
And on that note, goodbye, guys and girls, and have a good time.
Ciao.
Bye.